Thank you, Florence. Thank you all so much for coming. I'll introduce you first.
Yeah,
okay. Sure. And I suppose I just want to say that I'm really happy to be here with Maz because we haven't seen each other in a couple of years, but I really adore Maz very much. And so this is a kind of reunion for us. Mazharul Islam is a Bangladeshi LGBTQIA+ activist and pioneer of the country's queer movement. A management member of Boys of Bangladesh, he fled to London in 2016 following the murder of two of his friends who were activists, also part of Boys of Bangladesh. Maz has worked with Queer Tours of London, ACT UP, and the Peter Tatchell Foundation. And I think it was maybe an ACT UP event where I first heard you speak and we met. An award-winning campaigner, Attitude Pride Award 2018 winner, he led protests seeking justice for victims of anti-LGBTQIA+ violence and was featured in Vogue and on the BBC. He is the founder of the Rainbow Tree, supporting Bangladeshi queer individuals in the United Kingdom and globally, and has contributed to books and exhibitions showcasing his advocacy and artistic talents. He is a trustee of charity African Rainbow Family and a patron for another charity called The Report Out. So round of applause for Maz, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Amelia, for your lovely introduction. Now I'd like to introduce Amelia. She is an inspiration to me. And Amelia Abraham is a British journalist and author based in London. She is noted for her contribution to LGBTQ culture and politics and has written extensively on related topics for numerous publications, including The Guardian, Observer, and Vogue. Her first book, Queer Intention, A Personal Journey Through LGBTQ+ Culture, was published in 2019 and was a journalistic look at the increased acceptance of LGBTQ+ people in the West, where it falls short. We Can Do Better Than This was published in 2021 and is an anthology of stories, essays from LGBTQ activists, performers, writers about how to make life better for LGBT people globally. Welcome, Amelia. I'd like to know to you, Amelia, I'm definitely sure before you write this book, you had some thought in your mind. And what was that? What was the important thought that made you to write this book, We Can Do Better Than This?
Yeah, so I suppose I should also say for context that Maz was a contributor to this second book. And just to tell you more about it, it was an essay collection with 35 contributions from writers, activists, performers. And the question we put to each contributor was, what would you do to make life better for LGBTQ+ people? So everyone had a sort of different answer to that question, and some just shared a personal story, or other people really wrote like very practical, we need to do X, Y, Z. And that book, the concept for that book, well, I suppose it kind of felt like a continuation of my first book, because my first book was a look at this idea that we have increased acceptance now as queer people, and it starts at the first same-sex wedding in 2014 in the UK, and then it sort of looks at different topics like the commercialization of pride, or the explosion of drag in the mainstream, or like the visibility of trans people. And essentially I was sort of questioning, like, does all this increased acceptance actually make us safer? So the second book feels like a continuation of that, because it's like, okay, we have, you know, more mainstream visibility and we have more rights, but we know that that isn't materially changing some aspects of queer life for the better. So what do we still need to do, and where do we still need to go? yeah, so that's kind of where the book came from. And also, I remember there was a statistic at the time when we started working on it. When I say we, I mean like me and Penguin, the publisher, which was 2 out of 3 LGBTQ plus people in the UK don't feel safe holding hands in public. And I think that statistic was a starting point because it was like, okay, we have all these, like rights, or we have more visibility, but it doesn't change the way you necessarily feel, or it doesn't change some people's conceptions. So I think that we wanted to take that on, and then that went in lots of different directions. And for example, your essay, which was about global decriminalization of homosexuality.
Yes.
Maybe you want to speak to that and explain your essay for the book.
Sure, definitely. I met you through an active event, right? Mm-hmm. Then you had an interview for like Vogue magazine for my personal journey to be in London. So I just want to share my journey in a short brief. So I'm one of the pioneer LGBTQ activists from Bangladesh. I'm talking about back in 2002. At that point, there was no platform for the Bangladeshi LGBT community, and people used to, still they commit suicide. Every year we get this news. So a group of people, like 12 of our friends, we created a small Yahoo online group just to share our feelings, share our thoughts, and that's how we started this small group called Voice of Bangladesh. And when I left the country in 2016, and we had 10,000 members of that group. And that was the achievement of our from 2002 to 2016. And by this time, we used to organize different sort of like get-together, and then annual picnic, cultural event, party, and movie screening. We used to celebrate like International Day Against Homophobia, and we sort of like started coming out. When we are like getting bigger, we are started like getting more strength, and we started contacted newspaper, sending article, because Bangladesh government like every year when they come to this conference in United Nations, they deny, they say there is no existence of homosexual people in Bangladesh. So we wanted to tell the people that we do exist in our country. So when in 2014, my friend Julhas Bannan, who was brutally murdered by the religious extremists in 2016, he published first ever Bangladeshi queer magazine. And it came to the media and everywhere. From that point, religious extremists targeted us. So in 2016, 25th of April, I still remember, I finished my job. I was doing some grocery shopping. Then I got a text in my mobile that one of my friends texted me that a group of religious extremists attacked Julha's house, and we don't know what's going on inside the house. You are targeted, and my ex-boyfriend, he was also targeted. He was hiding himself in my flat from last 6 months because they are looking for him as well. So he said, we don't know whether they are coming after you to your home or wherever you are, just go back to home, lock yourself. I just went back to the home and told the security guard to the flat, please do not let anyone come inside our flat. If anyone look for, just for me, just say he's not at home. I went back to the home, opened the TV, and me and my boyfriend, my friend, we can see in the live news, 2 of my friends is brutally murdered and slaughtered in front of his mom, and it's showing. We couldn't like talk to each other. we're just crying, and we didn't know if they are coming after us and where to go. We are randomly calling to other friends for shelter. No one was picking our phone because no one wants to give someone shelter who is looking after life is danger. We locked the door. Then at midnight, one of our friends came in. We went to his house. Next day, my friend who was brutally murdered, he used to work for the US Embassy. So US Embassy made a safe house to protect few of us, and we were taken to that safe house. From that safe house, we had individually interviewed that US Embassy will help us to reallocate as early as possible outside of the country because we are not safe in Bangladesh. So after that murder took place in 28th of April, I left Bangladesh. I came to the airport in a bulletproof car with US Embassy protection, and I had only 5 minutes to meet my parents. And I couldn't talk to my parents. I just hugged my mom for 5 minutes. It's gone. Then I left.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah, since then I haven't met my parents, and then I moved to initially Sri Lanka. I was hiding 7 months in different hotel. I used to work for a professional chartered accountancy body, so my employer reallocated me in London 2016. And that's how I ended up being in London. But after coming to London, I didn't give up. And no one raised voice for asking justice for my friend. And at that point, I didn't know any activist from London. I was by myself. So on their first death anniversary, me and one of my friends, we two people just made a protest in front of the Trafalgar Square with a placard that I'm asking justice for my friend. Then I met Dan Glass, Amelia, Peter Tatchell. Then I tell Peter that I want to stage a protest in front of the Bangladesh High Commission, and I want to send this message to the Bangladesh government. Though we left our country and our friend's life has been sacrificed, we want justice. And next year, 2017, 2019, every year I used to make a protest in front of the Bangladesh High Commission and send that letter to the Bangladesh government that we are asking justice for my friend. And finally, justice has been served. 4 of the murderer was given death sentence. And yes, that's how I ended up being in London, and still I'm here.
And also, you've been holding a vigil almost every year since?
Yes, from 2017 until they got the punishment, I used to make protests in front of the Bangladesh High Commission, and now every year on 25th of April, I do organize online event to remember Julhas and Tonoy who were brutally murdered. So yes.
Yeah. I remember coming to some of those during the pandemic, and it was a really beautiful event. I suppose, this is the story that you write about in the book.
Yeah.
And also maybe you wanted to say something about the wider context for this happening and the situation in Bangladesh for those who don't necessarily know. Because when I met you, I didn't know much about I mean, LGBT rights beyond the West, for instance, like I just didn't really know the situation. And speaking to you and hearing this utterly horrific story, I was like, okay, if other people don't know about this, then we need to explain how the conditions of criminalization become a context in which things like this can happen. So yeah, maybe you want to speak to the criminalization of homosexuality and why we need to decriminalize in Bangladesh.
No one should get punished or lifetime sentence just because of their sexual identity and gender orientation. We all are human beings. We shouldn't judge us based on our sexual orientation. How would you feel that you born and even you don't, before you realize if you are a homosexual person, the law is making you criminal? Just being in a country, you born and you have done nothing, but you're a criminal. On top of that, you born and brought up in a society and it's full of hatred, full of homophobia. So you already struggle yourself to accept you. On top of that, like the government is making this law that which criminalize beautiful human beings. And this law was unfortunately originated from Bagari Act and British colonial law. So when the British ruled Indian subcontinent, they implemented this law. They left, the law is still there. Still Bangladesh and other Commonwealth countries like following this law, and few of the Commonwealth countries like being homosexual is death penalty. So you shouldn't like hang yourself just because of your sexual orientation and gender identity. And like that's why this is very important. We all should raise our voice to decriminalize homosexuality, not only from Bangladesh, like all over other countries where still is homosexual is criminalized. So this is the message I wanted to convey through this book. And no one doesn't to leave their own country and leave their parents, leave their roots, and coming another country with a refugee status. No one wants that. If my country like decriminalize homosexuality, tomorrow I will the first person to take the next flight and go back to my country and work for my LGBT community. So that's why it is very important to decriminalize homosexuality from the world, not only in Bangladesh.
And I think the last time I looked, there was over 70 countries that still criminalize homosexuality. I think something that I've been curious about is how, well, there's two parts to this question. One, it's like, if we are LGBT people or allies or activists and we want to take part in doing something to help affect this change, what can we do? And I think there's sometimes a reticence as well, because that there might be a religious aspect in a country or another cultural aspect where, and you think, well, I don't really know what to say about the fact that homosexuality is criminalized because that's not where I'm from and that's not my culture, or that law exists because of my country's colonial presence in that place. So yeah, how can we become part of that discussion or make a difference?
There is many ways. First of all, for example, from Rainbow Tree, we do a campaign called Remove 377 Penal Code. So you can take part in that campaign. You just need to write down remove 377 Penal Code from Bangladesh and upload it on Instagram and hashtag remove 377 penal code from Bangladesh. We are doing this campaign, so you can part of that campaign, and especially writer and author like you maybe you don't live in Bangladesh, you hardly like you know Bangladesh through my eyes, you have that sense how the LGBT community feeling in Bangladesh. Maybe you can write an article in like either Observer or Guardian in a like newspaper which will like create a sort of like international pressure to the government, and they will think so that's in many way like you can support us, and especially also like you don't need to do a lot of things to support your surroundings, support your friends and family, and also like stand up if you see any homophobia or hatred. So speak out.
Thank you, Maz. And one of the things that you've done since you've been in the UK is start the Rainbow Tree, and I'm always amazed by your work and how you always keep pushing and doing new things and bringing people together. And yeah, Maz has put together a little presentation to show us a bit of what the Rainbow Tree do. And I think it's also important to say that, you know, you were saying that this is like a really important place as well to talk about this work, because there's a large Bangladeshi community in this area, so it feels like important to speak about the Rainbow Tree at this festival, so you can pass on the word. But yeah, please tell us more about it. When did you form the organization?
So Rainbow Tree, again, it's like I formed this group in 2020 when I was going through a very hard time. Due to the pandemic, I was made redundant, and I had to claim asylum. And the asylum system didn't give me work right for 1 year. So I couldn't work, though I had like enough skill to contribute to this. Previously, I used to work as a business development manager for a international chartered accountancy body, and from that point, when you like made redundant, you are jobless, almost you are like homeless, and you can't even work. So I was like, and London was, I lived London. After that 1 year, then I couldn't afford to live in London. I moved to Newcastle, which is cheaper, and but I was really going through hard time and depression. But I always try to see things very positively. So this rainbow tree basically came out of my this hard time. I think if I didn't lose my job, if I didn't go through this bad time, I wouldn't maybe thought about the rainbow tree. So I had to claim asylum, and this is sad that like my own brother is a lawyer, barrister lawyer, but he didn't take my case because he is homophobic. So I had to fight my case without lawyer. I did it by myself. Then it was not easy journey. Then I thought like, why don't I create a community group? In like United Kingdom, there are like almost 600,000 Bangladeshi, British-Bangladeshi live in, and there is no LGBTQ platform where you can go ask for help. So I was only one person who started creating this group. Now we have in Facebook private group, we have 165 members. On Instagram, we have more than 400 followers. And in last, from 2022 till now, we have supported like 10 more individuals to claim their asylum, and I always write a strong recommendation letter as a community leader to the Home Office to grant their asylum until all the asylum application has been granted. Our rate was 100%, not a single application was rejected. And not only we are helping the British-Bangladeshi community, we are also helping sort of uh, Pakistan people from, and also Bangladeshi people living in USA, France. I will come to that point about the asylum, how we are given. So that was the sort of background that we needed a safer space for the Bangladeshi LGBT community who lived in here in London and wider community around the world, where this rainbow tree will give them shelter. It will give that oxygen to LGBTQ people to breathe, to survive. So that's how I created the Rainbow Tree Group.
I didn't know that about the name, but I love that. Yeah, let's get. Do you want to share some pictures so people can see?
Humanity, diversity, equality, inclusion, and compassion. I think these are the 5 core values of the Rainbow Tree. And based on that, what we do, everything based on our core value. I'm just very shortly going to talk about our vision, activities, our team. So create a safe and trusted platform for the LGBT, British, Bangladeshi LGBT people around the world. So that's my ultimate dream, that one day the Rainbow Tree would be a model community. Not only, this is so far the first ever Bangladeshi LGBT community, unincorporated organization. No other country has this community. No one has taken that initiative. I have taken this initiative. So I want that this model would be followed by other LGBT people, and one day there would be a community group in USA, in France, in Paris, everywhere in country, every country is where the Bangladeshi people. That's the ultimate vision. And unfortunately, the British Bangladeshi community are very homophobic. It's because we have, like in the United Kingdom, 600,000 British Bangladeshi living, but 90% of the people came from a particular region in Bangladesh, that is Sylhet, and Sylhet is very religious. So those people maybe they came to in London like 15 years back, but no one take any initiative, any LGBTQ people to break down the stigma. They didn't take any initiative to talk about homosexuality. They didn't talk about telling people, saying that I'm a proud homosexual person. And that generation to generation, they are like passing this hatred. So still, the society, though they are living in the like world most diverse city in London, but living some of them are more homophobic than the Bangladesh back in Dhaka people. So I want to work with, already started working with Tower Hamlet Bora, and in future also working with the different universities, helping with them research project. So removing the homophobia from the British Bangladeshi society, that would be one of our vision. So that's, and I already talked about the decriminalization of homosexuality in Bangladesh. We will be keep fighting. I know no changes take place overnight. It takes time. Maybe I hope in my lifetime I can see that homosexuality is decriminalized in Bangladesh. But if not, I want to create that platform for the future generation so that they can carry on the fighting. And one day, today or tomorrow, maybe 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, 100 years, one day the homosexuality will be decriminalized in Bangladesh, and I'm creating that platform for the future generation, for the current people.
I think it also can't really be overstated how you are really doing something that both with Boys of Bangladesh and with this, that like you just said, like hasn't really been done, and you're bringing people together, but you're also really putting your neck on the line. And just to a point about criminalization in Bangladesh, I think something that always stuck with me that you said, and I mean, of course, this is the case, but I just, you know, in my privileged position here, couldn't believe it that when you were receiving death threats in Bangladesh, you were not able to go to the police about that. And if you return to Bangladesh, you can be arrested just being there because you're public about being homosexual and you're known for your activism work there and people know who you are. So that really bears thinking about, I think.
It's really heartbreaking. Yeah. It is. And the ultimate target in 5 years' time, this community group, I want to make it a charity organization, registered charity organization with all of your support and good wishes and blessing. All I need, your blessing and support. That's all. So that's the ultimate goal, to become a registered charity, which is the highest volunteer honorary organization. So these are the activities we basically do. Remove 377 panel code campaign, supporting asylum seeker, organizing events, monthly get-together, annual picnic, summer getaway, sexual health information. Good? Yeah. So, override. So, these are some picture from the campaign. So, remove 377 penal code from Bangladesh. And these are the few events. Picnic, we went to the Pride event, day out tour in Brighton, picnic at Hyde Park, Ramadan get together, Eid celebration. So,
Can I ask a question? Sure. Can I ask a question about these events?
Sure.
Maybe you could just share some of what they mean to you to celebrate Eid and Ramadan with the queer community here, and also, yeah, like what are some of your favorite memories so far?
Well, actually, my favorite memories, I would pick up the picnic. You can see the picture here. So we had a annual picnic where we have different sort of traditional sports. It's called Gulla Sud, Murok Lorai, all the Bangladeshi games we used to play in childhood. So it bringing back the memories, and after that, sports game, we also give some small present, the winner, first, second, third, and it's just not an event. These events give you a sense of belonging, togetherness. It's empower you who you are. It's give you the assure you the inclusive environment. For an example, during the Eid or Ramadan, if you're a homosexual person, they will ask you, how come you could be religious and homosexual? So they don't, even if we want to, we can go to the to sometimes pray. If you are a feminine person, they won't let you go to. So this is we providing inclusive environment as well.
Yeah. And this is especially important because, you know, you might feel some sense of disconnection from your wider community if you're not accepted for being queer, but at the same time, a lot of people are first or second generation immigrants living in this country, which unfortunately, as we know, especially has been made particularly visible after the riots that have occurred recently, is not always the friendliest place. And there's a lot of rampant racism. So people are dealing with what I suppose we would call a double stigma sometimes. And
exactly.
Maybe you could speak to that. is that something that comes up in these meetings?
Yes, sort of like our member who basically come to this event are everyone has their own story and own journey, and they don't have family here, so they think they are the family here, and they face still they're living in London, but still they face indirect bullying by the community. If you just like dress a little feminine, go to the Whitechapel area, people will start laughing at you or giving you a look. We don't want that. We are not alien. We are the normal human being. So that's sort of like, even like, especially if you are trans man or women, you will not find a house rent in like within the community. So these are the like things we are facing. So yeah, and we are trying. Apart from that, we just like a small hope, and it gives you so inner feelings when you meet your community people. You feel like you are meeting your family. We don't have any other each other from our members, so we do share everything. So yes. So we also sort of like showcase talented from the Bangladeshi and British-Bangladeshi artists. They do send their artistic work. We promote them through our Instagram page. If you are the painting from the Bangladeshi LGBTQ artists from the Bangladesh, all the artists are from Bangladesh and their artwork, we promote them because then this is my team.
Look at this handsome picture of you. You snuck that in the presentation,
Yes.
didn't you?
Here, Tasnuba Ferdowsi, secretary. I'd like to stand up, Tasnuba. She is present here. And Shahjalal Akib, she is a treasurer for my community group. And he is my own cousin brother as well. So we are from the same family. He's my cousin brother.
Oh, okay.
Yes, he recently moved to London for his undergrad. And though my own brother is very homophobic, but my cousin brother is very supportive. And Shihab Ahmed, our member engagement. So this is my team, and without their support, I wouldn't have like completed anything. So we'll go to the question. Before that, I have a question to you. Let me just. Do you want to ask anything about asylum?
I think so. I think that people here would be interested to hear, if they don't know already, a little bit more about that. Are we okay for time? Q&A session now. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Well, someone can ask that in the Q&A
No,
session.
but like before that, I just want to briefly ask you, thinking about the essay in the book, which stand out as most urgent or poignant to you?
Yeah, so
Quickly. Sorry, I took all your time.
No, we want to hear from you, so that's the whole point. So the book came out in 2021, and I think that when you're writing books about these, you know, like contemporary sort of politics and activism, you have this challenge of, oh, you know, things might change, and I want the book to sort of stay relevant, but also I hope things change, because the whole point of the book is we can do better than this, so we want things to change and get better.
Just I want to stop you there. Yeah. And your book inspired me so much, and I am already doing better than before. So here is the outcome of your book.
Okay,
all right?
Thank you.
Can we have a clap for Amelia's book?
Oh, thank you, Maz. Thank you, everyone. sadly, a lot of things in the book haven't necessarily changed. So I think some of the subjects that are covered beyond Maz's incredible piece on global decriminalization is there's a piece about LGBT homelessness that I was just thinking about this week because some amazing people are opening a new transgender shelter in Hackney. And the people that run LGBT Outside, which is a shelter that already exists in Southwark. And, you know, if you live in London, you know that from walking down the street that there's a homelessness crisis and that affects LGBT people disproportionately. So I think that's an issue that is on the mind at the moment. And I think there are quite a few pieces in the book about transgender rights in various different ways, and I think that's also something that's been on lots of our minds since Trump was re-elected. And not to say things were hugely better under Biden, but they were a lot better than they are under a Republican government. And something that is talked about a little bit in the book that I wrote an article about a year ago was people not being able to live in the states that they live in because the law in America is criminalizing them or essentially writing them out of existence or denying them healthcare. And so I think this is an interesting point because your experience in Bangladesh being criminalized is something that trans people are experiencing as well. And, you know, even in supposedly, but as we know, not very progressive places like America, and even to some extent here. So people are having to leave the state that they live in because they cannot be trans there. So that's something that's talked about in various ways in the book, and that's also been on my mind recently.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. And yes, it's any question or any comment we'd love to answer.
It's okay. Thank you for sharing. I wanted to know if the council is currently supporting Rainbow Tree with funding.
What I didn't mention, like till last month, we didn't have any bank account for the Rainbow Tree, and all the activities we have done, it was voluntarily with our own pocket money. But very recently, we have our bank account, and we started working with the mayor of Tower Hamlet Borough. We had a meeting with last 2 weeks before, and they're going to apply. So thank you. Thanks for bringing the important point. Yes. Yes.
I suppose that I'm just thinking about, you know, you have got the experience from doing Boys of Bangladesh, but I suppose it's kind of learning on the job a bit now. This is the next stage. This is the next stage of how to grow something like this organization.
Exactly. So we are also having meeting with the Tower Hamlet Borough for capacity building, and next target is to become a charity organization. Sort of in my head, I need a board of trustee, all these things, so all going on, and in future, we'll be looking for more volunteer for the Rainbow Tree. And if you want to contribute and work, it could be just simply organizing an online meeting or event, and you are most welcome. You can follow us on _the Rainbow Tree on Instagram. Then contact us, keep in touch, and let's work together to make this world better. And yes, that's all.
And when you're a charity, we can donate as well.
Yes, still you can donate. No, I'm at the moment working for a website. Once the website is, there would be a donation option. So I'll definitely send it to you.
Thank you. Do we have another question? Yeah. Hello.
Quick question, really. Earlier on your talk, you mentioned about the group that you created, a Yahoo group, and you started off with a few and then got 10,000 followers and so forth. Are they within the LGBTQ plus community, or are they from other communities? And the other question is follow-up to this. What other challenges did you face, and how did you overcome them?
All right. So your first question, yes, it's all of, it was in Bangladesh. So all of them are like LGBTQ people and members. And when the murder took place, I think we progressed a bit, but after that murder, we went back like 20 years back. So the murder is done in 2016. The fear is still there. So all the LGBT community, they went underground. No one is coming out openly. They are still working. I mean, keep in touch with them. So yes. What was the second question? Sorry. Okay, challenges and yeah. So of course, we had challenges. So when we used to, for example, organize an event, then before the event, we already used to get like email or death threat. So sometimes we had to hide that threat and keep it within the management board because we didn't share it with the member, then they will panic. So that was, and also we are supported, funded by like US Embassy. Then we had good connection with the international LGBT network, which sort of helped us, encouraged us. And yes, I myself was targeted. They used to follow me and send me text like, I can see you are coming out from your car, and if you don't give certain amount of money, we will disclose your sexual identity to your office, to your colleagues, and we will hand over to religious extremists who will slaughter you. So at some point, I had to go to the police, but I couldn't mention that I'm a homosexual person. That's why I'm getting. I had to hide that part, but I had to report that. So these are the challenges. I think all the challenges I overcome, now I realize it's because I wanted to do something, that willpower, and couldn't stop me. And nothing can stop me until I'll keep fighting till my last breath. Yes.
And I think something you told me once, another challenge is, if you're talking to people online or you want to meet up with someone, you have to be so careful when you're in Bangladesh. You don't know if you're being catfished. And actually,
exactly. And I was like, once I met this guy from Facebook, and like we started talking, and at some point he said like, we made a sort of like emotional connection. Then I decided to meet him because like he blackmailed me sort of emotionally. He knew I'm very attached to my grandma. So he said his grandma passed away. So I thought, okay, I'll come and meet you. I went to meet him, and when I went to meet him, it was like really remote place. And as soon as I meet him, it was like around 8 or 9 p.m. during winter, and it's in a village side, it's like midnight. So he was with 4 of his friends. Soon I go, they kicked on my belly, and I was lying on the floor, and there is a big knife on my ear, and said, arrange like 100 like money, otherwise you're gonna be dead. So somehow I had to give them my bank card and send them to the ATM booth, took the money. So these are and like 2 years back, one of the engineer, he was dating from the Grindr app, and he was kidnapped and he was murdered. So these are the challenges we face a country where homosexuality is illegal just because of that. And we have a rainbow tree member who was beaten badly, like when he went to meet someone. Yeah.
Didn't know that. I'm sorry that happened to you guys. Yeah, there's another essay in the book by a writer called Vincent Desmond talking about this exact problem in Nigeria. There's a word for this happening. It's called keto, and essentially is like online catfishing of mostly homosexual men. Are we at time? Do we have time for one last question here? Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your experiences today. And you talked about particularly some of the issues that are still ongoing, like particularly facing trans people today. I just wanted to say that I work here at the council. I'm a member of the Town Pride Staff Network group. And if you look up when you go out of the town hall today, you'll see that the trans flag is flying for the first time above the town hall. Oh, wow. And that's something that the staff network group has fought quite hard to make happen. And it's a very sort of small, symbolic. It doesn't mean everything's changed. It doesn't mean the world is a better place because of it. But I think it goes to show that people here at the council really care about people in this borough and that we're making some changes. So if there is any daylight left when you go out, look at the trans flag flying above today.
Yes, I just want to add one more thing. Yes, council is doing wonderful job. They are very recently doing a research called transgender needs assessment. I'm a part of that research already. I was interviewed, so things are getting better.
Yeah, and on that note,
thank you, the council. Yeah. Thank you, the mayor of Tower Hamlet Borough.
Yeah, it's really positive to know that. I also went to Positive East recently, which is in Stepney. And is the amazing HIV charity. And I was amazed because they were doing a fashion show with local women who use the charity, and there 30 people work there. And I was like, wow, this is huge. So yeah, check them out too. But that made me feel very positive because I was like, this is the whole thing. There's 30 people that work here. I had no idea. All right, thank you so much for your time and questions. Thank you, Maz.
Thank you.